Today with me is a brand new 2019 Honda Pilot Elite Edition. This has just been refreshed for 2019, and this is one of the most popular three-row SUVs on the market today. So I'll be reviewing this and show you the good, the bad, and the ugly, so you can decide if this is right for you. First, a big shout out to Honda of Lisle for making this video possible. They are the ones that lent me this Honda Pilot to be reviewed, and you can find out more about the dealership in the description of this video. Now for the 2019 model, starting from the front, there are a few changes. The overall grille design has been refreshed and the lower bumper has been completely redesigned. So now this gives the Pilot a more modern and refreshed look from when it was introduced in 2016. Now on the side, there's not many changes you can see on the 2019. However, it is a good look overall, and I want to show you guys these 20-inch wheels that come on the Elite from the factory, and they make the car look pretty good. Here's a good look at the backside. There are a few changes for 2019. The taillights look a bit different. The bumper has been redesigned to give it a bit more modern look, and overall I think the backside of the Pilot looks decent. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not too fancy. Of course, you do see the backup camera here, and since this is the Elite Edition, the tailgate is powered. And of course, you can close it with that button. Now, the powered tailgate can be activated using your foot, but I have a real hard time activating it. Yeah, there we go. And the trunk, you can obviously fold down the seats just by doing that, and it does fold down flat. It is not powered, but this is actually very easy to do. Honda did something really cool back here. You can lift this up and you see there is a lot of storage over here. But if you want to make it permanent, you can simply put that down and that's it. And this is a hard plastic so that you don't have to worry about it getting scratched or anything like that. And it's easily cleaned. And it just depends on how you want to do it. If you want to hide and have some privacy or have this flat, leave it up here, or you could put it back down. Now under the hood of this 2019, you're not going to see any differences. This is the same exact engine from the 2016 model, and it is shared with other models such as the Ridgeline. However, the transmission has been swapped out for a brand new 9-speed that makes this car a lot livelier and shifts a lot quicker. And I'll be reviewing that transmission once I take her out on the road. Now, as soon as you open the door of this Elite, of course, you go see a lot of leather. All the seats are leather. Most of the surfaces are soft plastic, not hard plastic. You do have a gorgeous center stack and a good looking steering wheel and gauge cluster, which I'm going to show you once I get in. Here's a good look at the second row. The door opens fairly wide and you can get in and out fairly easily. All right, so on the inside, first impression is that, you know what? It looks very familiar, at least to me, because I daily drive a Honda Ridgeline and I could tell the door panels, the switches, steering wheel, even temperature control, start stop button. A lot of these things are shared with the Ridgeline, and that's not a bad thing. Overall, I think it looks pretty good. It looks pretty modern. Now on the higher models of the Honda Pilot, they always had a large, beautiful touchscreen like this. However, due to the massive amount of complaints out there about how there's no volume knob, Honda decided to bring it back, and this is definitely welcome. Makes, turning up the volume much easier. And then of course you got home back, and this is of course very responsive touchscreen. All right, there's a few things cool that I want to show you guys. First, the number of connections that's available. So if you go to system and then go to connections, you can see not only does it have Bluetooth, this is pretty standard, you can connect your phone and you can play music and pick up calls, but it does have built-in Wi-Fi. So if you wanted to utilize Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, or any number of networks, that and you want to connect it up to your car and be able to stream Netflix or whatever, you could do so with this built-in Wi-Fi. Of course, you can change the settings for Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and they give you cabin control, which you can use to control the rear entertainment system for people that can't reach, for example, kids that are sitting in the third seat. So you can control it up here. Now, in terms of the rear camera, there's actually a few views that's pretty cool. This is the standard one. Of course, you see the grid lines, and it does move when you change your steering wheel. And you also see, this is kind of like the wide angle view, but you can also change it to more of a closer view, and you could change it so that you're looking straight down, so if there are toys or something that's back there, you can see exactly what's laying on the floor. So those are pretty cool. Now, in terms of temperature control, obviously you can control each side. It is a tri-zone because you can adjust the rear over here as well. Obviously you could sync, make everything auto. It's pretty easy to use. You do have the rear defroster and the mirrors. And then moving down here, you do have a Blu-ray player, and that is for the entertainment system above. And you get an outlet. Of course, you got USB, which is pretty standard these days, and you do get one of those wireless chargers. So if you do have a phone that is compatible, just stick it on there and it'll be good. And also, because this is the Elite model with the heated and cool seats, they are right over here, and there's 3 levels for each. Now, moving on, of course, over here you do see 2 very large cup holders, and you see this new style gear selector from Honda. I already talked about this when I reviewed the Accord. This is exactly the same. You have park, reverse, neutral, and drive. This, to me, drives me crazy. Every manufacturer is trying to reinvent the gear selector, and I just don't get why. A normal gear selector that goes up and down is fine. This isn't too difficult. However, there is still a learning curve. It doesn't save any space because the gear selector would be here anyway, so I just don't get it. All right, so you also have a couple other things. You do have mode selector, which you can control if the all-wheel drive system is just normal. You can control if it's for snow, mud, and sand, and this turns off the auto stop. Now, as for the center, it is a very large space right here, and then you do get a couple more things. You do see you get another outlet and another USB port. In the center, you do see a large screen. Obviously, you can circle through it and see a few things. There's a few apps built in. You can see trip computer, all-wheel drive torque in terms of how the power is moved throughout the front and the rear. And you can see some controls for the phone, navigation, what's playing on the radio, for example. You can move forward and backwards. I mean, and maintenance. Pretty much you can control everything in here. And of course, you see the usual, the temperature, the miles per hour, and the fuel tank. And it's large, it's definitely readable, and looks cool. It looks cool. Looking at the steering wheel, this is pretty usual. You can control the screen up there or the menu, and you have telephone controls as well as volume. And then over here, you can set cruise control, heated steering wheel, which is really nice in the winter, and these 2 are for the lane assist. And over here, this is pretty standard. Of course, you have a couple memory seats over here, and you get an econ button, which I'm pretty sure no one will ever use. I have never used that in my Honda Pilot ever. You can control the mirrors here, and controls for the parking sensor, the traction control. This is the road departure mitigation, and this is for the collision mitigation braking system. All right, now that I'm sitting in the second row, since this is the Elite model, it does come with 2 captain's chairs, so this is 7 passengers, although in the lower models you can select 8 passengers, which you get a little you get another seat over here. There's plenty of leg room. The seats are not the same as the front. They're a little bit firmer, not as supportive. Definitely feel it. When you move from the front to back here, you can feel the difference between the seats. You do have a large space to just put whatever you want here, 2 cup holders. All right, so looking at the controls, you can control these seats. They are heated. There's three settings for that. Of course, you can control the temperature back here, auto, and of course you could do it manually. All right, and down here you do have a lot. You have 2 USB chargers. You have a normal AC outlet for gaming stations or anything like that. You can control the headset volume over here, and you do have an HDMI connector so that if you want to play something else to the rear entertainment center system, you can. And in terms of the rear entertainment center, it is up here. It's a large screen. It is not as impressive as some of the other manufacturers, which have them back here, like either you flips up or on the headrest. Although this is fairly large, as I'm sitting here, that is definitely viewable. And I'm sure even in the 3rd row, this is gonna be fine. And of course, you do have that huge sunroof. It is not panoramic because of the rear entertainment center. I'm sure if this wasn't here, Honda could have just made this one huge one, but because this is here, they had to split up 2 ways. Also back here in the 2nd row, you do have sunshades. You can just simply pull it up and that's it, and then put it down when you don't need it. This is a feature that's normally in minivans. You don't see them as much in SUVs, but Honda decided to throw them in here, and that's always a plus. And because these are captain chairs, you do have this large space in the middle, so kids getting in and out should have no problem. So like for me, I'm gonna try to get back there, and yeah, I'm able to do so. Back here, you do have more cup holders, vent. All right, now I'm in the 3rd row, and because the 2nd row seats slide forward and backwards, you could actually get a decent amount of leg room back here. I'm 5'10". I moved this seat up a little bit, and now I have a couple of inches of leg room. It is tighter because you can see this is where, you know, the tire is right out here, so they had to put this armrest with the cup holders here, so it does take out a lot of hip room. So you really can only fit 2 people back here, 2 adults, maybe 3 kids. It's curious that Honda decided to put the sunshades in the 2nd row and not the 3rd row. That is something that you do see in Odysseys and other minivans. However, Honda decided to just stick them in the 2nd row and not the 3rd. The seat itself, it is very close to the floor, so it's probably hard to see, but it's about, I don't know, if you look at my hand, it's probably about 8 inches off from the floor. So the seating position is not the most comfortable. You see there's a large gap right here. So in terms of short distances, you know, short trips, I think adults would be fine back here, but really this 3rd row is geared for kids. Now in terms of getting out of the 3rd row, it is quite simple. Obviously you could just go through there. I mean, it's not too bad to go through between the seats. There is something you can pull right here, okay, which moves this, and that is the manual way of doing it. However, Honda decided to throw on an electronic button in case you were lazy and you didn't want to pull that. You could just press this and it does exactly the same thing. Now, even with the seat folded up like that, I will say this looks quite narrow, and getting in and out, is still difficult. I think getting in is easier, but getting out, because the way you're seated back here, it is still difficult. Now I'm driving this Pilot, taking her out on the road, and first impressions is it's very similar to my Ridgeline, and I could draw the comparisons because that is what I drive daily. And in terms of width, headroom, you know, leg room, it's all very similar. For those of you guys that haven't driven a large 3-row SUV before, it's probably going to take you some time to get used to it. It is quite massive. Now, it is not on the scale of a Ford Expedition or a Chevy Tahoe. However, this Pilot is very, very wide, very long. However, with that said, it is very easy to drive this Pilot. Visibility is really good. You have no blind spots anywhere. And with all the safety features that's on here, pretty much prevents you from getting into an accident. Now, in terms of steering, I do feel like it is on the lighter side. It's not too heavy, not too engaging. It is on the light side. The throttle is really good, a 9-speed. I'm going at low speeds right here, and I can't even feel the transmission, you know, hunting gears. It is shifting really smooth, and I don't feel it. It is very, very, very quiet in here. I don't hear anything. I don't hear the engine. I don't hear the wind. I don't hear the tires. I do not hear anything, and that is a good thing. So if you need to hold a conversation with the kids in the third row, you're not gonna have a problem. Now, I just took some corners a bit quicker, and I was sliding around my seats. These are comfort seats. They're not sports seats, so the seat is not really hugging you in. So so this is not something that you want to be carving a lot of corners in. I just floored it up to about 25 miles per hour. It is definitely not a quick car. It's not like the Honda Accord Turbo. It picked up pretty decent, but it wasn't super quick. It didn't accelerate as fast as I thought it would. Now, in terms of the noise, I mentioned how I don't hear anything. One thing I do feel is the start-stop engine, which I'm not a fan of. Right there, right now, I just stopped. I could definitely hear, I can't hear the engine turn off, obviously, but I do hear it turn on, and there's a slight lag when you're trying to move forward. I'm not a fan of it, so that's why there is a button here, and they put it right here. For those of you guys that don't like it either, you can just turn it right off. Now, some of the other things I'm noticing while I'm driving around, the screen is gorgeous. It is large, it is easy to access. The volume knob is there, so if you want to turn it down, turn it up real quick, you can. It is prone to fingerprints, so in the sun, you're gonna see a lot of fingerprints. However, even with a bright day like right now, I can see the screen very clearly. Now, one of the complaints that a lot of people had about the Pilot before this redesign was the fact that the transmission was a little clunky, and the paddle shifters were slow, which, first of all, I don't even know why you need paddle shifters in a 3-row SUV. It just doesn't make any sense. However, you know what? I've been told that it has been greatly improved in this new 2019 model, so I'm gonna give it a try. I am traveling around 50 miles per hour, and I just went down to 6, went down to 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I go to 7, 6. I mean, it works just fine. The paddle shifters work fine. They do downshift. However, I just don't see a need why you need to downshift and upshift yourself in the Honda Pilot. Now, the lane assist is pretty cool. I just swerved outside my lane, and it came up on the screen, and the steering wheel started vibrating. So if you're getting sleepy and you're in traffic and you swerve off, it'll definitely get you a wig. Now, some of you guys might be debating if you want a minivan or a large SUV like this. There are many advantages. First of all, you do sit higher. It gives you a better look and overall commanding view of the road. You do get all-wheel drive, which is not really offered on minivans besides just the Sienna. And you get nearly the same amount of space in terms of the rows, front, second, and the rear is nearly the same as what you would find in the Odyssey. And of course, you don't have that soccer mom or soccer dad look when you're driving around in this thing. To conclude, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about this brand new 2019 Pilot. For the good, it drives very well and all the complaints have been fixed. It is very quiet, it has a good amount of power, and has great visibility. It is very spacious, and all the tech goodies are standard in this Elite model. As for the bad, there are a few. I find the seats get less comfortable as you move back to the second and third row. The new style gear selector does take time to get used to, and there is no 8-seat option in the Elite model. This Elite model tops out at $49,000, and at this price range a lot of people move up and look at the luxury segment. And as for the ugly, the foot activation for the power tailgate simply does not work. I tried many times on several occasions and I could never activate it. That's my review of this 2019 Honda Pilot Elite. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Take care, bye-bye.